Okay, let's pick up where we left off. You know, where did that supersets, the Orange Sunshine LSD and the PCP powder take us? Yeah, I was walking one night trying to get home on 7th Avenue South from Howard's house. It was late, and all tripped out. And coming from the opposite direction seemed to be a large physical guy. And as we got closer to each other and one another, instead of giving space and distance, against my will and control, I found myself being just uncontrollably like a magnet, getting closer and closer to this person until I got close enough to see this person didn't have any eyes in their head. Yes, I got very freaked out. I even yelled, "You freaked me out!" And the other person was making sounds like, and ran. And I kept on telling people about this experience. They said, it's just two people at the wrong place, at the same place at the wrong time. Well, that would be okay, except 2 months later in another city, in Baltimore, it was the day after Christmas, 1969, I hailed a cab, and simultaneously, as I hailed that red, white, and blue veterans cab in Baltimore, how's that for a memory, folks? My friend Jeff was on the street heading another direction. He too hailed a cab. And wouldn't you know it, the cab driver did everything he could to make sure I couldn't see his face. And I was telling him about my experience in New York City. And he kept on saying, "Is that right?" He says, "You can smoke the stuff, but just don't sell it." And at some point in time, I was shaken and scared in this ride. Remember, I was on the lam. And I just said, "Hey, if you're the man, go ahead, do your thing." And I said, and if it's something on another level, like, I'm not that important. And I said, "But whatever it is, I'd like to see your eyes." And I'll never forget how he responded. He says, "You would you?" And I'm shaking. I said, yeah, I would. Well, he let me see his eyes, and it wasn't as scary as it was in New York. It was a person there. But I get back to the apartment, and I start to tell my friends about the conclusion of this experience. And my friend Jeff says, "It's funny. I wasn't going to say anything, but I too had a funny experience with a cab driver at the same time of the day you did. Only this man was an Afro-American, and he was running for the governor of the state, and he gave me his card. And he had a very soft look to his face. He says, 'No, unlike you,' he says, 'no, I was not scared at all.'" And I was so scared at that point, I remember dropping a friend's name that had a lot of vowels in it. I said, "In case you're connected with somebody else, then you could ask my friend Babip-a-bop-a-bap that I grew up with, And here's a guy I haven't seen in a couple of years, flying home from Las Vegas to Baltimore, first name of Tony. He said, because at the same time of the day that I had my experience, and Jeff had his experience with a cab driver in Las Vegas, Nevada, told Tony that someone was dropping his family's name and he needed to go home to check it out. Now, if you don't think that's a real chamois, it ends up that chamois, all tripped out, literally walked into the man that popped him in a local pub. Now, what are the odds of this, or what are the odds of that? We'll get into more of short stories from Egos and Assholes by Dr. Chamois, including that of Chapter 4. Chapter 4, after Ashley does the editing. And let's see where this one takes you, folks. That's it. Cut.